Plus-size travelers hate.
Hold on one. We are back.
When the tray table can't come down, worrying about asking for a seatbelt extender, having little to no room to move, narrow aisles and bulkhead seats, tiny airplane bathrooms, worrying you're going to break the toilet, getting pat down because you're fat, tiny airport chairs with armrests.
Yep, she is flying to see her boyfriend, Clint Russell, who is not here. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. My name's Luke Radowski here of thebestpoliticalshow.com, and we are going to be going live for the next 2 hours discussing all the latest and craziest news developing right now. As of course, just a few moments ago, Donald Trump said we are closer to World War III than ever as big moves are being made by North Korea recently that just blew up their own roads to North Korea as people are recording a large number of individuals that are just losing faith in the corporate media as Donald Trump is polling way ahead of Kamala, as we are also promised some Make America Healthy Again policies that, of course, we're going to be discussing with our guest in detail. As, of course, we will ask you guys to please share this broadcast with your friends and family members. It is more important than ever. It's the only way that this broadcast and this podcast actually gets out there. Some of the episodes have a lot of views, but if anyone here just listened, if you just shared it, it would really mean a lot to us and help us battle the larger kind of algorithm problems that a lot of independent media faces. And for you guys helping us out, we, of course, make you a part of the show as members of LukeUnfiltered.com. Get the ability to call into the show and, of course, get access to a specific Telegram channel. That Telegram channel is open right now. We do not have a caller. That caller could be you, just by simply signing up to LukeUnfiltered.com for less than 20 cents a day, and you get a lot of really cool offers of value. If you haven't checked out the Apocalypse Survival Guide, now's the time to do it. First-time callers also get a free product on wearechange.shop, and we are going to be doing everything in our power to read any and all super chats, but we will, of course, be prioritizing mysuperchat.com, the Streamlabs link down in the description, which, of course, only gives a 3% service charge, which we prefer over YouTube's 30% or 40% that they take? They take a lot, and they really don't do us any favors. As also, in about 30 minutes, we are going to have the alleged third Trump assassin call in. Ven Miller will be calling in about 30 minutes, joining our guest, Chris Masterjohn. Chris, you were on this show before. Thank you so much for coming on. For the people who don't know you, who are you, and how would you introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Chris Masterjohn. My claim to fame is I have a PhD in nutritional sciences and I biochemically optimize human beings. But I love to talk about some politics and news as well. So here we go.
Lots of nitty-gritty nerd stuff that we're going to get into. We're going to shame some people here who are not working out. I'm not going to point any fingers here. Is this a possibility too here? We'll get into it.
No.
We'll get
keep
into
that finger pointed there.
We'll get into it in a little bit as we are still continuing to, of course, upgrade a lot of our cameras as you see us doing. Do we have this camera? No, this camera's not working. But as you can see, every day we are building and upgrading this studio. A lot of people are a part of this independent media organization. Another very prominent person who's a part of it is, of course, Martha Bueno, who has been really awesome, has been helping us out a lot, helping us book a lot of guests, and truly is a big portion of the show that I'm very grateful for. Martha, who are you, and where can people find out more information about you?
Hi, thank you. Oh, wow, I am in shock. Thank you, Luke, for such a nice introduction. I think this is a first. I'm Martha Bueno. I love to talk about politics and help here out on the show, and you can follow me at Bueno for Miami on IG and X.
first you got to shame them a little bit for not working out, and then you kind of got to bring them home with some
Excuse me.
nice compliments.
I
there.
work out. Thank you.
We'll be getting into everyone's workout routine in a little bit. As of course, Stephanie, we're going to be talking to you too. I hope you're ready for that.
I'm ready.
Go ahead.
Oh, hi everybody. This is Steph of We Are Change, and I definitely do work out. I rollerbladed for 2 hours straight today.
Good job.
I don't know. Me and Chris have different opinions on this, but let's get right into the news.
Fast rollerblading, no stopping.
Well, you gotta lift some weights, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. There's also the sensor there that is turned on. You got to turn off autofocus on your camera, and then we'll get this weird line off of your face.
How do I
there,
turn it off?
Steph. I'll try to. Oh goodness, I don't know what you just did. Don't click that. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out when our guests are speaking. As of course, we have a lot of news to talk about today. One of the biggest ones is, of course, the latest statements from former President Donald Trump that announced that the world has never been as close to World War III as it is now. Absolutely. I agree with those statements. As of course, looking at the international geopolitical situation, there's a lot of crazy stuff developing, especially as of today with North Korea that destroyed the roads that were leading to South Korea. Now, why would they do this? Well, they are probably expecting some kind of larger ramifications for their potential involvement in the war in Ukraine. They're also accusing South Korea and the United States of flying drones inside of North Korea, saying that if they continue to do this, this will be met with retaliation with bombs. That's where we are right now. As of course, internationally, there are a lot of very strange alliances. It looks like the North Koreans are specifically aligning themselves very closely with Russia, as Volodymyr Zelensky came out and said that North Korean troops are already in the battlefields and fighting alongside the Russians against the Ukrainians. There's also a lot of implications here, especially when it comes to a potential nuclear weapons deal. But these warnings and these larger actions by North Korea do really highlight a very kind of dangerous situation that we are all involved in that could completely and very quickly spiral out of control. I don't know if you guys were able to see a lot of the news breaking today, but it is kind of discomforting understanding that we might be having to take out a fourth checkbook this time to finance a potential war now in the Koreas. What do you guys think? And how do you think things are developing internationally, especially as I think a lot of countries are going for broke in this very kind of unstable, still waiting to find out what's going to happen if there's going to be a peaceful transfer of power. I think that's also has something to do with a lot of these escalations as well, the larger kind of unknown political situation inside of the United States.
I think that I'm not a geopolitical guy, but it seems to me that, Russia and China are much bigger powers than North Korea, and that the real sad thing is that we've been, seriously alienating Russia more than we have to, with NATO expansion and all the things that we did on our side to precipitate the current situation there. And so it strikes me as more just like kind of weird and odd, if anything, that North Korea is going to get thrown in the mix. But I think the real big thing is we don't want to be pushing Russia and China into a big alliance that is not on our side. And if North Korea gets thrown into that, that's, I don't know, kind of funny, if anything. Like, I don't know that they're like the global power that's going to tip the balance between us winning or losing that war. But, we don't want that entire side of the world all allying themselves against us.
Yeah, well, it definitely destabilizes the region, and I think that's the larger kind of efforts here from the Russians as well that have officially partnered very closely with the North Koreans, as it's fair to say they probably are sharing a lot more than just the manpower that they're getting from North Korea as well. There was also a lot of very interesting reports for many years now about a lot of North Koreans being used as slave labor, specifically for the Russians as well. So this kind of larger alliance could be Vladimir Putin saying, I'm just going to make the situation that much more confusing for the United States. I'm going to create more kind of weird areas of contention and more kind of proxy conflicts, as already the United States, not so long ago, financed the larger kind of Taiwanese defense, the Ukrainian defense, the Israeli defense. Now the South Korean defense is something that we're going to have to also take seriously. It just seems like a lot all at once. And is it enough for the American empire to undertake, as we are already in $35 trillion of debt?
Yeah, that's really my concern is when is enough enough? Most Americans are having a hard time putting food on the table, and now we're going to go protect another country. It's getting a little old. I'm not going to lie. I think that America should kind of stay out of this, but I'm a non-interventionist, and I think that America should be working on America right now.
Yeah. Steph, what do you think?
I think that there's a lot of people that are still needing a lot of help from that past hurricane or flooding that happened, and that they need rescue. They're up in the mountains, and no one's taking care of them. And I think that we should be taking care of the people that are here.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
As of course now, a lot of the money is being spent on foreign lands, on dropping bombs on different countries, and then our money is also spent on rebuilding the things that our bombs paid for and destroyed.
Did you guys see that Trump ad with the Full Metal Jacket?
I have
clips?
not.
So Trump put out a new ad the other day that had scenes from Full Metal Jacket, which is a Stanley Kubrick film from way back in the day. And
I'm going to try to pull it up. I'm going to try to play it. What should I look for?
So it's, maybe go to Trump's Twitter and look at Trump's X and look at the last couple of days.
Hold on one second. Let me pull this up. Is it this one?
It looks like it, probably.
You will learn by the numbers. Happy Pride. Happy Pride Month. And actually, let's declare it a summer of pride.
So you're a killer? Sir, yes, sir! Let me see your war face. Sir, you got a war face? Ah! That's a war face. Now let me see your war face. Ah! Bullshit! You didn't convince me. Let me see your real war face. Ah!
I hear it and I know I know you wanna take.
You will be a weapon. You will be a minister of death, praying for war. But until that day, you are pukes. You are the lowest form of life on earth. You are not even human fucking beings. You are nothing but unorganized, grabastic pieces of amphibian shit.
How to abracadabra, these bitches know I got answers the way I.
It looks to me like the best part of you ran down the crack of your mama's ass and ended up as the brown stain on the mattress.
I love working for Uncle Sam. I love working for Uncle Sam. Let me know just who I am. Let me know just who I am. 1, 2, 3, 4, United States Marine Corps. 1, 2, 3, 4, United States Marine Corps.
Now, I definitely think there's a cautionary tale with both of those sides. But preferably, if we're going to be involved in foreign conflicts, I prefer one military over the other, personally.
So a lot of people responded to this by pointing out that they were saying that Trump doesn't get the irony that Full Metal Jacket was an anti-Vietnam War movie. And I think they're missing the point. And what was really interesting was Stanley Kubrick's daughter. So she's not only the daughter of the producer of that film, but she also wrote the score to it. And she said that if her dad were alive, she's confident that he would be a Trump supporter because he understood the paradox of human nature. And the paradox, for example, that he was very anti-war, but he was also very pro-gun, and he shot rifles and kept them for self-defense and so on.
Sounds like a libertarian.
Right. And so maybe libertarians understand the paradoxes of human nature better than Democrats and Republicans. But one of the paradoxes this highlights here is that you want the military to be really dangerous, but to be so respectful of their own danger that they stay out of other people's business. So you want them to carry a big stick that they can swing, but you don't want them swinging it all over the place. And so if you contrast the vision of having the full metal jacket version of the U.S. military that just it says, don't even think about that, versus the woke version of the military that wants their hands in everything. The way you avoid World War III is you have the military that is so feared and so respected that no one's going to try anything. And, so people were pointing out that like Trump is, relatively anti-war compared to all of the people before and after him. But I think the most important thing is these wars were not happening when Trump was president. And it wasn't really because Trump was withdrawing out of everywhere, et cetera. Like even the Afghanistan withdrawal didn't happen until after him. It was really that people didn't want to mess with Trump when they were afraid of what would happen. So we want people that are I don't want the U.S. military intervening all over the place, but I do want people who might worry about that to be very, very afraid of it, because I would rather they not be piling onto their neighbors in, the kindling to what would become World War III in the future. And so I think that was a very good ad because it was both funny on the one hand and it was drawing attention to an extremely important paradox of human nature on the other.
Absolutely. No, someone in our comment section just said World War III is cringe. I would agree with that very kind of simplistic statement that
it is very
I think a
cringe.
lot of people resonate with right now. As of course, what did the young kids say? It's not Sigma. Yeah, World War III is not Sigma. Vibes or energy? What do they say? I don't know. I'm an old boomer.
Yeah, you're asking me.
I'm looking at the older.
What was that magazine article that came out, I think today or yesterday, with like beta men, and it was one guy with his hand in the pocket of the next guy with the next guy, and it's like, where are we going with this? Even our military is kind of sort of beta these days.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely pathetic. A lot of people, especially a lot of our young people, they're so mentally destroyed and physically destroyed that they're not capable of joining the military because they can't go through the first kind of qualifying ranks of isn't physical shape and fitness.
That has good and bad points to it, though. I kind of don't want the U.S., recruiting our young men and sending them off to war. So, hey, they're taking themselves out of it, I guess.
Well, they're taking themselves out of the gene pool, too. Which is, a big argument that I think Donald Trump is trying to address, also with RFK Jr., about making America healthy again. MAHA is what a lot of people are saying. Someone said that to me. I was like, that's a little awkward, but I'll take it. I like the overall message of it. I know, Chris, we're going to be talking about that in a deeper level and getting into the nitty-gritty of how to be kind of better and healthier, probably in about 40 minutes from now on another platform where we could actually do that without censorship. But I do believe that there's a kind of middle point where I agree with you, Chris, especially where I think we do need to be capable of self-defense, but we shouldn't be absolutely beta-cucked males that, of course, just acquiesce towards the wills of the corporations and all these other sinister forces that want us fat, stupid, and dumb. So I think there's a middle ground there that I think is reasonable. Will Donald Trump be reasonable? We'll see. He's definitely promising to be a different leader than Joe Biden. His leadership was definitely a lot different than Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and it's fair to say that the failed leadership of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris is leading to a lot of chaos in the world right now. A lot of people are looking at that Sleepy Joe. A lot of people are looking at the unfavorability numbers for Kamala Harris, and they're saying we got to go for broke, because if we're going to do something, now's the time to do it, because the leadership in Washington, D.C. clearly is pathetic, clearly is weak, and clearly is not acting on the best behalf of America, but on the best behalf of the kind of organizations that have hijacked America for their own personal benefit. So I think that's the big kind of thing. As just recently, the United States threatened Israel. This just, by the way, broke a couple minutes ago, so we're going to talk about it. But the United States just threatened Israel with an arms embargo if, quote, Netanyahu doesn't resolve the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. As a lot of people are reporting these official threats. As we know, the Biden administration says one thing publicly, and then they do another thing privately, especially when it comes to, of course, Israel, that is soon, of course, expected to respond to Iran. and launch larger retaliatory strikes against their retaliatory strikes from previous other retaliatory strikes. You see the cycle. You see what's going on here. It doesn't take a genius to figure out what's going on here, as there definitely is going to be a bigger escalation with Iran and Israel. There's already a lot of horrible bombings happening inside of Gaza. There's already a full-on battle happening in the north of Israel, and the situation doesn't look good for the Middle East, especially with these kind of impending strikes that were negotiated with the United States, as Benjamin Netanyahu says that these strikes will happen before November 5th.
So before the election, well, at
Yes.
least he's letting us know early. Also, like, what's up with the situation? Like, where's the end? Where does this end? Does it ever end? Do we ever get a resolution here? I mean, it seems like the never-ending war. It's been going on for what, like 80 years now?
It's been going on for quite a while. And it's absolutely horrible for the people of the Middle East, for the Israelis, for the Palestinians, for the people in Lebanon, for the people of Iran, as these governments can't work together and they're constantly at odds with each other, attacking each other. And the people who really do pay the price are the innocent that, of course, are caught up in the middle of these crazy governments. And a lot of people like to take a lot of very strong sides on these issues. I just want to say that any government waging war is pretty dumb government and a government that I don't align with. And this does signal larger problems, as the Israelis specifically also announced that they won't be targeting the nuclear energy facilities nor the oil infrastructure of Iran, but specifically going after their military targets. Exactly when? No one knows. There was statements that, of course, this was going to happen day one after those 200 plus rockets came from Iran. Clearly, that didn't happen. Clearly, Benjamin Netanyahu then went to Washington, D.C., held private meetings with Joe Biden. I think they were wheeling and dealing. I think they were negotiating. And I think whatever Israel is about to do next, the United States is fully putting their stamp of approval. As, of course, now this statement by the United States is very interesting. I don't know if they're just trying to save face with the Democratic future voters. I think this is also affecting Kamala's poll numbers, and I think this had something to do with this statement from the United States saying, hey, we need humanitarian aid in Gaza now, as there's accusations of the people there being literally starved and no food making its way in to Gaza right now.
It's a horrible situation. Again, this is just so, where's the end of it? Like, where do we go from here? Like, what do we do as Americans? Again, like Steph said earlier, like there's Americans here in North Carolina that don't have food, that don't have resources. We just went through a hurricane. Like, why aren't we taking care of our people here? Why are we supporting people just constantly fighting each other, bombs dropping? I don't know. I guess I'm having an anti-war day. I have those pretty much every day. But I don't see where we're going with this. I don't see what the point is. I don't see how we get out of it. And honestly, I'm not at war with any of these people myself. And how do we stop this situation?
Yeah, most people don't want war. I don't want war. I don't want conflict. It's an evil, destructive, I would say demonic kind of energy that a lot of people are kind of plunged into without their consent. Now, the fact, there's a couple things to think about, specifically when it comes to this particular statement from the United States, as, of course, they're doing this very publicly. They're saying, hey, we're going to not give you arms if you don't resolve the humanitarian crisis in Gaza right now. I think they're doing this because they probably already asked the Israeli government to do this, and they're like, we're not going to do what you want. And I think this is why they're trying to do public pressure now. And I think this also kind of allows them to go to their young Democratic voters and say, hey, look, we're trying to do something. Because there is a large portion of the Democrats that are not going to be voting for Kamala because of this very specific issue, because of what's happening right now in the Middle East.
And they're going to, give us before November 5th, they're going to go ahead and take care of this, or they're going to, conveniently the day of the election. Like, why that day of all days?
Well, it's between now and November 5th, because they know that there's
because
probably...
once November 5th rolls around, there's just no need to escalate. There's no need for people to be like, we need Kamala. I don't know.
Well, once November 5th happens, I think the Iranians that are not happy with Donald Trump will face an America under the leadership of Donald Trump. And Donald Trump has been very heavy-handed when it comes to the Iranians. He has been very kind of proactive and very aggressive against them. So I think Israel now, looking at the situation, is saying, yeah, we'll escalate. We'll show them that we mean business. We're going to bomb them and we're going to retaliate. And then we're going to get even more backing potentially from Donald Trump as president of the United States than this kind of wishy-washy, public-private, weird, quasi-uncertain kind of messaging that we're getting from the Biden administration.
Good points.
I think that Trump was very aggressive, but he was also very kind of special op, right? So there's like shock and awe campaign where the whole point when we went into Iraq was to shock and awe, like, look at our bombs, they're blowing up everything. And then, Trump was go in with a special op, take that dude out, go away, So I don't know what Trump is going to do now, but this wasn't happening when Trump was president. And I think that was because, he, I don't think he would,
I think Iran was more in check under the Trump presidency, especially with the sanctions, especially with the Obama nuclear deal being cut off as well. So I think Iran had a lot less options under the Trump administration.
I think that's true, but also that, that also means that Israel doesn't, like, I doubt that Israel is, no government is morally being what they're saying up front. Like they're primarily being strategic, and then they're moralizing to the public to win hearts and minds, right? So I think probably it's a dynamic where, yeah, Iran was a little out of line, but also no one really cared whether Biden thought one thing or another because they knew that no one was in the driver's seat. And so they said, well, we don't have to worry about what our friends are going to think of what we do right now because we don't care, our friends being the United States. So I think there's sort of an automatic Israel's a little in check when Trump is there too, because they know they have to think twice about whatever they do because they know that they'll be accountable in some way. And that's not to say that Trump would take Iran's side, but, Trump would not necessarily
endorse what they're doing.
Endorse like really dangerous, blow the whole region up type of stuff,
Yeah, there was also a very contentious relationship between Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump. And Netanyahu did kind of insult Donald Trump, especially after the 2020 elections, officially calling Joe Biden, complimenting him and thanking him for becoming the next president of the United States. So there's also no love affair between the two as well, as they recently met as well. So it's interesting. I wish I could just be a fly on the wall for some of these conversations between Trump and Netanyahu, between Trump and Volodymyr Zelensky, as the two also met recently at the United Nations. I would love to understand what they're actually wheeling and dealing and actually talking about.
So we kind of got a taste of being a fly on the wall at the Zelensky meeting because we saw what happened when they came out. And, Zelensky had one view of it, and then Trump was kind of dissing him in a nice way, like buddy, but also kind of like, he said that, he said, we have a really nice relationship with Russia. And Zelensky said, well, I hope you can have really nice relationships with us too. And Trump said, well, it takes two to tango, So he's in there being a nice. He's the type of guy who is very much your friend if you don't get out of line, but he might ask you to take a step outside if you do.
Yeah, you saw them walking out, and I think we saw everything we needed from that conversation, from the body language that we saw exhibited from them walking towards the podium, from that very kind of decisive moment. This, as also Ukraine just a couple days ago also announced that it is considering conceding some of its territory in order to have peace with Russia. So another kind of larger promising sign here that could signal a potential end to this very kind of disruptive, dangerous conflict that's happening right now with Russia, which again is absolutely crazy. Slavic men are losing their lives in record numbers. And it's tragic. It's absolutely bewildering that people are convinced, this is my mafia. You're going to fight this mafia for control of tax jurisdiction of this specific territory. It's the way that kind of history has been going on for quite a while. But I would hope humanity evolves past that. And we are seeing more limited wars. We are seeing proxy wars now instead of world wars and global wars. And this is why I think, the situation in North Korea is so troublesome, because we see all these like little proxy conflicts, pop off in Syria, in places like Libya, and you see different factions support different groups. You see it in Yemen. Also, Lebanon, Hezbollah is predominantly supported by the Iranians, of course. You see these little proxy conflicts, but it comes to a point where there's so many different proxy conflicts that these countries just say, we're just going to fight each other because there can only be so much, quote, limited war that we're just going to go have a full-out battle here. Anything else you guys want to say about this? We're going to go try to reach out to our guest, Vem Miller, who has been in the news lately. If you guys haven't heard, we're going to hear from him right now if you guys want to close off with some of your statements.
You got something to add to that?
Or Stephanie, if you want to add anything, you can as well.
Sure. I mean, there's something that came up, not really to add what you were saying, but I'm just really curious if anyone has heard about Trump and his new call for the death penalty for any migrant who kills an American citizen, and what do you guys think about that?
Oh, wow. That's special.
Like, when I saw that, I was like, whoa, this is a little intense. I don't know. I mean, we're talking about all these people and innocent lives dying. Like, I don't know. Do you guys think it's something that this death penalty is like?
I mean, I think the death penalty in the hands
should continue
of the government is always wrong. It's just like, what? And then they're going to kill people. If you kill an American and you're an illegal immigrant, you deserve to die. That's like what the message is basically saying. And I'm like, can't we do something better than just like tit for tat?
Yeah.
Well, I think
just really quick. Hey,
Vem,
Vem, can you hear us? Are you live on air?
I can hear you guys. You don't see me, right?
We do not see you. Is there any way you could turn on your video camera, and then we'll be able to, of course, see you?
It is on, but I'm figuring what's going on here. Whenever I switch from other apps, I got to actually restart the computer. So if you don't mind, I need to restart. No worries.
And then call me back as soon as you are done doing that. Sorry, guys. Go ahead. Finish your thoughts here.
Oh, I think a much more important thing about the death penalty is that there are many cases that it turns out very long time later they were wrong about who killed who. And so I think in general it should be used exceedingly sparingly because
Absolutely.
You could be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
And they often are.
And there's no going back. There's no fixing your mistake.
But I think that was because back in the day they didn't have the technologies of like the DNA testing and stuff like that. So a lot of those, but I'm wondering, is this like an
Even
outdated
still.
law? Because he's kind of bringing it back. I don't know if it's outdated or not. It really took me back. I was like, wow, this is kind of aggressive. But I don't know.
We have a super chat. Can you read it, Steph?
Yeah, Little Drinky Poo saying, I'll have to watch later, but wanted to know if the guest knows of Dr. Zach Bush. I found his interviews years ago really helped to open my eyes to the world of medicine and nutrition.
I know Zach Bush. We interviewed him here on this channel a few years ago, and it would be great to have him back. I got to put him in the request list. We have a request list of people we're looking for, but Zach Bush has been pretty on it. I don't know if you heard of him, Chris.
Yeah, I've heard of him, but I wouldn't be able to speak to his ideas about specific things. Yeah.
Awesome. Ven, we got you live on air. We got your video coming in. I heard you had somewhat of an interesting week, to say the least here, as, of course, a lot of fake news was spread about you. I remember looking at this story and being like, hold on, let me hold off here. A lot of independent media ran with it. A lot of people were saying I was involved because you were at the RNC and you took a photo of me, and I'm like, this is just lunacy. Let's just wait to see exactly what happens. You released a video specifically detailing what happened to you, as many people labeled you the third attempted assassin of Donald Trump, and clearly that's not the case of what happened to you. Really quick for the audience members, what really did happen, and what's the latest with you? Because we're hearing that the feds are also going to your family's home now. What's going on? Because it seems like an absolutely crazy story that you're having to deal with.
Yeah. So, I mean, kind of the summarized version is that whenever I go to any rallies, and what I must point out here is a rally, a Trump rally, or any political rally versus the parking location are two separate locations, right? So I identify it differently. Some people have been very supportive of Second Amendment rights. Some people have said things like, I'm an idiot for trying to take a gun into a Trump rally. But that was never the case, because what I know as a journalist, an investigator, a documentarian, is that these are two separate locations because they don't have the parking lots, right next to the actual rally, because one of the threats of assassination is not just by guns, but it's also by bombs. So you don't want to have like this Timothy McVeigh style car bomb that's going to then harm the president or harm the rally goers, right?
And just to be clear, some people are online are saying that this was kind of an accident. Some people are saying that you went up to the police first and declared that you had this. Did you know you had this? That's what some people are asking as well.
Yeah, so I had firearms in the back of my truck, which I travel with because due to doing investigative journalism in 2022, I started getting death threats mailed to my home, Scrabble pieces that spelled dead. Then I purchased a firearm, and I travel with my firearms in my trunk, and that's simply why I had them. So now I'd gone from Nevada to Los Angeles, did some work there, then was traveling to the Coachella Trump rally, which I was given a special invite to by higher ups at the Republican Party in Nevada. Actually, they sent me 4 invites, not just one. And so essentially I'm driving up. Every time I've gone to a Trump rally in Nevada, I let the police officers know that I have firearms in the back of my truck as a courtesy. Then I go park my car, and then you usually walk anywhere between a quarter of a mile to a mile all the way. I mean, I've walked like a mile and a half to get to
that's the important aspect here that I think a lot of people need to realize. You volunteered information and went to the police voluntarily, right? The police during their press conference didn't release that information. They said a lot of stuff about you, but they should have said, hey, this guy actually walked up to us, told us the situation. But they made it seem like it was some kind of grander conspiracy here at play here, especially with the way that they described everything that was unfolding here. I don't know why they did this, but that's the key piece of information that people are going to, of course, verify through the police body cameras, which hopefully you're going to get through the Freedom of Information Act and release to the general public to highlight this larger kind of police agency that is, to me, really criminal.
Yeah, and I'm glad you say that, because now that I've had I have a very high-powered attorney, a couple of attorneys actually working on this. They started doing some research on the Sheriff Bianco there, and it seems as though this gentleman has, in my opinion, I'll say in my opinion, been operating under the color of law as a sheriff, right? Which means basically he's allowing or doing criminal things using his title. And some of the things we found out is that there was a $7.5 million settlement for a lawsuit because of his behavior that this recently was awarded. We found out that unusual number of inmates have died in his correction facility, and he's been sued as an individual as well as his department. We found out that there's a lot of bad behavior and serious concerns about the training in that police department. Words like incompetent, badly trained. So, when you look at my history, it's like all I am is an artist. I've been an artist my whole life. My motto has been art is the greatest weapon. Pen is mightier than the sword. That's my role in this life, right? And I've never had even accused of a misdemeanor, much less crimes. When you look at this gentleman's past, his extremely checkered past, I think it paints a picture of why I'm sitting here right now, why he went on, on stage and said that I had made verbal admissions of being there to, and I won't even say, the rest of that sentence, why he was saying inaccurate things about fake IDs and passports, because fake government documents are a felony, so I should be in jail right now. The feds didn't even interview me. They had 2 opportunities. So if I had committed a federal offense like what he is claiming, then, I'd be in jail right now, But the issue with this guy is that his job is, really twofold, right? Either something is lawful or it's unlawful. It's very simple. There's no conjecture. There's no emotion in any of this. He's just got to determine, is it lawful or unlawful? So if he's claiming that I've done unlawful things, why wasn't I cited for it? Why wasn't I arrested for it? Why did the, feds and Secret Service not even want to question me? I mean, the answer is obvious. They did their research unlike Sheriff Bianco, and probably found out very quickly that this guy is not an assassin. He's not a threat. He has no criminal history, and they left me alone. But for Sheriff Bianco, there's 4 reasons I've identified with my team that why he would have done this. One is that he has governor aspirations, and what better to go out there and say, I just saved Trump from a 3rd assassination attempt. I mean, wouldn't that garner him a lot of votes? So you have a lot of self-interest in that. Another issue is this arresting deputy was definitely expressing anti-MAGA sentiments and definitely was the fulcrum to all this, definitely was a spokesperson between the feds and the Secret Service and I, and trying to rile up the feds unsuccessfully to arrest me, to investigate me. So there's that aspect of it, of an anti-Trump, anti-MAGA person trying to carpet bomb my life. And then there's the bigger conspiracies. Like I've done a documentary recently called Bundy versus Deep State that, about a gentleman, Mike Little, who spent 9 years on a lawsuit that shows the fraud of the federal government, shows how the federal government, or I shouldn't even say government, I don't like using words like that because government is an inanimate object incapable of harm. It's really the people within government, but how they've rigged the system in order to steal our state rights, steal Nevada's gold, destroy our ranchers so they could, feed us bugs and stuff. Basically 54 ranchers in southern Nevada, 53 of them driven out of business because they signed grazing rights contract with the federal government. Cliven Bundy decides not to sign grazing rights. Then the federal government descends upon him and through violence, through killing his cattle, through threatening that this is going to be another Waco, they will try to take his land. And fortunately, to the 200 federal agents that showed up to the Bundy land, 2,000 militia members showed up and the federal government backed down, but nonetheless continued their persecution of the Bundys. Mike Little saw this, is a patriot, is an incredible gentleman, and actually wrote the lawsuit of the century, I believe. And just as he was about to file it, he became very ill, which we believe was a poisoning, and 5.5 weeks later he died. Fortunately, there's people behind him that have filed a lawsuit. Today I got information that version 2 of the lawsuit, an amended filing, was put in literally today at 10:50 a.m. with all the exhibits. So now the lawsuit is complete. It's in the federal system. I believe this lawsuit could literally stop, through lawful methods, through peaceful methods, all of this fraud that is committed upon the states, and very much return power back to the states with a limited federal government, and hence limiting their corruption.
Yeah. Now, Ben, I think it's important to talk about exactly what you've been through. I think, Martha, you have a question as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to know, what is the impact of what you've gone through? Like, as we're not a stranger on the show to the government coming after people here. What have you gone through? What is your experience this week?
Yeah, especially with independent media vilifying and attacking you pretty brazenly as well.
I mean, that stuff is what it is. It's not nice to have, all these horrible things about you, but it's also been pretty incredible the amount of support I've had from people that are showing their face to be true friends. Have you guys seen that movie, The Fugitive, with Harrison Ford?
I think so.
It's an old movie. You haven't seen it? No. Anyway, Harrison Ford plays the Fugitive. It's a great movie, one of the best out there from 1991. Harrison Ford plays the Fugitive. He's a guy that's innocent of killing his wife, but nonetheless accused. He escapes prison, and there's moments in there where people are reading newspapers and they kind of glance at his picture in the newspaper as this fugitive on the run, and then they see Harrison Ford walking by and their eyes kind of pop open like, oh shit, this is the guy that's on the news. And that's been happening to me over and over again, to the point that I've decided not to leave the house. I went the other day or yesterday to go get some clothing because my car is still impounded with all my clothing. I have literally no clothing, so I went to buy some clothing. And as I'm walking through this clothing store, twice this happened to me, and I realized, wow, like my life is really changed, potentially changed forever. So
like people thinking you're the assassin.
Yeah. And then, I have police officers now calling me from Nevada, saying that they're worried about my protection, saying that they believe that I'm at risk of some kind of, right wing, and they call me right wing, although and I reject any of those labels, to be honest with you, because I'm much more libertarian than anything else. But that's what they've tagged on me. But they're saying, if there's extreme right elements that think that, you tried to kill the president, that are not watching these kind of podcasts and learning the truth, like they might try to harm you. So this is this new reality that I must tend with. I mean, that's the really big things. As far as, meanie things that people say, I mean, look, I've been doing media for 30 years. It's like, I don't even know if that even phases me. I don't even feel emotion when I read somebody, calling me a moron or an idiot, or, accusing me of whatever. I've heard that I'm a Russian agent. I'm an MK Ultra. This was all planned. I planned all of this so I could raise my exposure and get international notoriety. I mean, that stuff, it's like, it's nonsense. It's just not even, on my radar right now. But some of those bigger issues are.
That's so wild. So is this gonna, cost you lawyers' fees? And I mean, that's kind of the angle that I keep going back to is how this is impacting you personally, your finances, your ability to make money, your ability to, like you said, go out in public. Just, those type of everyday things that when you're not the subject of, an investigation, you just don't think about.
Well, in terms of definitely financially, so $250,000 worth of my equipment, intellectual property, and vehicle is currently impounded. They are definitely making it very difficult to get that back. I don't know if it's going to be intact. That is one concern because the America Happens Network, AmericaHappens.com, which I'm the founder of and which I run with my partners, including Mindy Robinson, a lot of the equipment that we use to create content is in that car. So it's definitely crippling on my life, like that aspect of it. In terms of lawyers, some of the most prominent lawyers in the country have been reaching out to me to do this on contingency. They see this as, especially a few of them actually did research on Sheriff Bianco and his behavior and the history of, shady behavior, I guess, let's say right now. And they feel, really good about this lawsuit against the sheriff's department. So on that level, it's not impacting me. On a level of kind of crippling a lot of what we're doing at the America Happens Network. I mean, right now, yes, we're crippled. Yes, the money we're making off of views, sponsorships, and all that stuff. It's not kind of happening right now. Financially, that's affecting me. And then the cost of this entire ordeal, staying in hotels, having I don't feel comfortable right now returning to locations where people know where I am. All that stuff is costing me. It's looking like it's going to continue to cost me money. Luckily, the aspect of suing this police department, suing the city of Riverside is done right now on a contingency basis. I'm sure there's things in there that are unavoidable, like depositions, filing fees, and things like that, all expenses that I hadn't counted on, which are now a reality. So that's kind of more or less the landscape.
I'm pretty curious because I did listen to the
Press the shutter button.
I'm pretty curious because I did listen to the sheriff's explanation or like some statement that he made, and he said that he called you a sovereign citizen. And also he mentioned something about having like illegal license plates on your vehicle. Are you able to like talk about that? Because I was pretty curious your perspective on those statements.
Anybody that uses a term like sovereign citizen has no understanding of the law because that term doesn't make sense. It's a misnomer, like it's two opposing words. This is something that, somebody that's picking off stuff without actually researching, understanding law is making those statements. I'm not a sovereign citizen. Sovereign citizen doesn't even make sense. It's never made sense to me. What I think I have is a deeper understanding of the law than the sheriff does, because here's the thing, and I'm being very serious. I mean, I would love to interview this guy and kind of debate him and stuff because that'll actually show that somebody like myself should not have a better understanding of the law than the sheriff does, So they gave me this ticket basically at the end of the day. There was no $5,000 bail. That's a lie. And it was only about the gun, I guess, discrepancies between Nevada law, where what I had was completely lawful, versus California law, where apparently if you have a mag that has more than 10 bullets, it's unlawful according to their statutory law. I mean, we could get into why that is completely unconstitutional and ridiculous. And also the mag being separated from the gun was the issue. What's not on this citation is all these other things, right? Because a sheriff, two topics, lawful, unlawful. That's all it is. Everything else is conjecture, whatever. And if it should have been unlawful, it would have been on this. And also, certainly, if I'm doing something unlawful and what he is insinuating are felonious offenses per the federal government, I haven't even been contacted by the federal government. I've never been accused of anything by the federal government. So this is all his opinion based on a lack of legal knowledge, and again, shows kind of a level of incompetency that shouldn't be at this, in the position that he's holding.
Thank you. I was also curious if you could speak to like the different passports and allegations that they were saying about that.
So initially they said I had 5 fake IDs. Then it was, he has 2 lawful passports, right? I mean, a big difference, obviously. So, I was born in Canada. I have a Canadian passport because I was born in Toronto, Canada. The Canadian passport bears the same name as on my birth certificate. And then I have a U.S. passport. So between 2001, 2008, I was doing investigative journalism in foreign countries, going to dangerous locations, covering things like the lands where there was the Armenian genocide, and I'm a descendant of Armenian genocide, right? So my Armenian last name, it's actually Van Miller Yanofkin is a full name. The Armenian part of it, and the Yanofkin I dropped, which is the Armenian name, I dropped that when I ran for office in 2022 because my campaign consultant told me that you're not going to get any votes with that kind of a name. It's like Van Miller's is a lot cleaner. Just drop the Yanofkin and have it be Van Miller, right? In terms of the U.S. passport, I had gone to the passport office and explained that I'm about to travel to a place where historically Armenians have been, gone through genocide. 3/4 of the population was decimated in that area, and there continues to be murders at the border where they're picking off Armenians left and right on the Azerbaijan border, which Azerbaijan and Turkey are basically very similar cultures. They're like, they want to erase Armenia so they could be joined. And Armenia is this little kind of landlocked nation that sits along the way, right? So there's a history of threats from them. So when I go to these regions, I went to the passport office and I said, hey, could I change my name to something not Armenian? And that's the reason why I changed the last name. And then subsequently, I went to these regions, which are reflected in my travel documents. Incidentally, even with that, like I almost got killed in eastern Turkey because I was filming places, talking to people about the Armenian genocide in places where it is still being covered up, in places where, if you know somebody like Hrant Dink, who's a Armenian writer, he was shot in broad daylight in the middle of the street because he started speaking out about the Armenian genocide. It's heavily censored. You can't even touch the topic. And I'm out there with a video camera basically interviewing people in little villages in eastern Turkey that resembles Afghanistan. It's not Istanbul, which is a lot more westernized and modern. No, this is like we're in kind of war-torn areas where the Kurds and Turks are constantly killing each other, where there's wars going on, and where an Armenian last name could get me killed. So that was pretty much the reason for that.
That's a big different story than what we were told by the police authorities. Thank you for the explanation. You didn't really have to explain yourself, but for some people you do, because it's important to note here. A lot of people are running with this story, and they're like, 5 passports. He's CIA. He's connected to all. No, the way that you just explained it makes absolute perfect sense. But in my mind, I'm kind of thinking, why did the police do this? Almost everything that they said happened was a lie about you. Almost everything they brought up wasn't true. They recanted. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think they made a statement a couple hours ago saying, yeah, he never said he was a threat against Donald Trump. Why would they make that up? That's what I'm kind of pontificating about. Like, why was this, done in such a poor fashion where they just lied through everything? Did they think that they could get away with it? And then they let you off with a ticket? Is that true?
Yeah. Basically, and I just showed it to you, by the way. That's our ticket. Right
Is it a court appearance ticket, or are there any charges on there?
I'm covering up my driver's license aspect, so so people, if there's a bad guy watching. But that's basically, those are the 2 citations. That's a ticket right there. I have a court appearance on January 2nd. It's basically a misdemeanor.
Wow.
They're blowing up your life for a misdemeanor. Is there anything that they wouldn't do for to come after people they don't want?
That's the thing. This is crazy because it's police state action. It's people operating under the color of law. This is an issue across the board in our country. So, more so than the financial upsides and, what they call legally restitution, which is making your life whole after somebody carpet bombs it internationally. And I don't even know how that's possible financially, but we'll figure it out. The bigger issue here is holding these individuals to account, making sure that people understand there's crime and then there's punishment. Historically, we've looked at administrations like the George W. Bush administration getting us into these crazy wars. I've interviewed so many people that have come back with PTSD, their minds absolutely destroyed due to a war that was unnecessary. And, while we're doing those peace marches back in the day in 2003, 2004, everybody was talking about, we need to hold these people accountable. We need there to be a Hague. We need to see what happened here. And that never happened. And then because that doesn't happen, when the COVID situation comes up, there's another level of destruction of American people and the world. And then in terms of cancel culture, it's like people that are in powerful positions think that they could keep getting away with stuff because nobody is held to account. And you hear, oh, they were dismissed from their job. No. It's like, if you're doing bad stuff like that, if I do the bad stuff like that, I'm going to jail, or at least I'm going to court and then subsequently to jail. So those people need to be held to account. We need to make an example of this kind of bad behavior. So people that come, behind them know that they got to operate under the law and not, under the color of law.
I love that, holding government and government officials accountable. That's absolutely what we all should be doing.
Do you guys have any other questions for Vem?
I just want to say it's kind of ironic how proactive they were in this situation where he has no history of saying anything against Trump, when the assassin number one dude wrote a whole book about. He said in the
and was on the roofer.
Basically his book was his ideas were one with the military-industrial complex, and he said that Iran should assassinate Trump and that Iran should assassinate him to hold him accountable for being in a country that elected Trump.
Yeah, this is the second crazy assassin that had many of these writings and was also recruiting people to go fight in the war in Ukraine, and working with, of course, passport systems through Pakistan. Now, that's a skeptical thing. That's something I would be skeptical of. But that's literally what people were accusing you of them. They were like, he's the same guy as the last time, and I'm like, wait, I was around this guy. He seemed pretty cool. I don't know you personally. But I know I've seen you at the Libertarian Convention. I saw you at the RNC. I see you at all these larger events. Roger Stone came out and also sent out a larger message about you as well. And it's just crazy that this happens. What have been your kind of larger learning lessons from all of this? If you could kind of go back here. What would you do different, and how are you going to be moving forward? I know you're talking about lawsuits, but is there any other way people could find out more information about you?
AmericaHappens.com is our network. We produce 14 different shows. We produce a lot of different documentaries. Mindy Robinson is my business partner who produced a Route 91 documentary. I highly suggest people go on there and check out the content we've been producing, a lot of it which exposes the roots of corruption, individuals like Sheriff Bianco, and pretty much a lot of government officials, lawyers, judges that are doing scummy things. That's where to kind of check me out. What I learned from this, it's a good question because people have been asking me, would you do anything differently? And when I dissected it, and with the knowledge of these parking lots and the rallies being separated, the correct terminology is I was trying to get into a parking lot with my car, or an open air parking lot in the sense. And then I was going to walk to the Trump rally, which was a great distance away. So while, yes, if I could rewind the clock, I would have probably not come to the rally at all, or I would have, it's a confusing thing because I could have left the guns at my friend's house, but then my guns are not in my possession, because I wasn't home. I've traveled from Las Vegas to, Los Angeles. So I'm kind of like, all right, maybe I should have just not gone to a rally. So the learning lesson maybe would have been just not to go to that rally, I guess. Other learning lessons, I'm learning a lot more about law and, the infractions that happen here. And I think that's been a really kind of good learning experience. I think I'm going to learn a lot more about law, and I'm really excited about that because I'm a bit of a geek when it comes to that kind of stuff. And, kind of going forward, I don't know. We're just going to produce more content, and just Mindy and I and Corinne and other people that I work with. We're just going to keep producing content, doing investigative journalism, doing documentaries, doing a whole bunch of things. We just launched a music show, which is kind of like a TRL Top 5 countdown without all the nasty, low frequency kind of stuff with drugs and, kind of gang behavior or promiscuity. Just, like a Talib Kweli or Kendrick Lamar would qualify. But we also have really cool Christian tracks, which surprisingly have improved, and they're on the level of some of the mainstream stuff. So we have that TRL Top 5 countdown. We're going to build out this network. Our goal goal is to build out, what we call the network of the 21st century, where it is this diverse model. And we have medical shows, by the way, to teach people of the medical stuff they hide from us, supplements, things that I've actually been on. Crazy enough, following some of these regimens after interviewing people like Dr. McCullough, Dr. Joe Newsma, and many of the other doctors, I used to have really bad eyesight, and my eyesight has improved 45% since I got it last tested, which is really weird at my age. And the doctor attributed that to basically taking supplements that are allowing my body to heal itself. So that's part of our medical agenda too. So essentially, we're creating this 360 universe network of the America Happens network, where people could basically get their network 2.0 concept and kind of rid us of what currently exists, which is these propaganda machines. Which having worked as a Hollywood producer, producing multiple shows, directing music videos, there's definitely an agenda to keep us in this lower frequency, to have entertainment be garbage, to have nothing fruitful from your entertainment and infotainment. And so we seek to turn that.
Awesome. Ven, we're going to be talking about a lot of those stuff on the next platform that we're going to be going to. I know you got a bunch of other calls and a bunch of other podcasts you have to do. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for calling in, because I know you had a crazy busy day, so we really appreciate you speaking to us. One last time, where can people find out more information about you? And thank you so much for calling in.
Yeah, AmericaHappens.com, and my Twitter is @NotVemMiller, NOT Also, America Happens 1 on Twitter, and my partner, iHeartMindy on Twitter. And Luke, by the way, I always say you got the coolest shirts, very creative. Love the work that you guys are doing.
Vem, thank you so much. I appreciate you giving us your time, and definitely stay in touch. Let me know what else happens in your particular cases. This is pretty wild and a crazy story. Thank you so much, Vem. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Wild story. Imagine showing up to the Trump rally and then being deemed as an assassin when you're supporting the guy and like him. Wild situation.
Chris's point was, I think, really, really well, taken, especially when the first shooter was on the roof for how long? So they were super proactive this time around, so
a little bit too much proactive. We're going to go on to the next platform on thebestpoliticalshow.com. Before heading over there, I want you guys to tell everyone, where can people find your work. We're still looking for a caller. That caller could be you if you sign up to lookunfiltered.com. Chris, before moving over to the next platform, where can people find out more information about you?
I'm Chris Masterjohn. You can Google me. You can go to X, Chris Masterjohn on X. ChrisMasterjohnPhD.com.
Awesome. Martha?
Cool. Bueno for Miami on X and IG.
Steph?
This is Steph We Are Change on IG and Steph WRC on X. Happy to push the buttons for We Are Change.
All right, sign up right now on lookunfiltered.com and call in. We appreciate all the callers, and we'll be going to them in about 30 minutes, as well as we're probably going to do another Miami meetup, by the way, very soon. So stay in touch